Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. So two people that I thought very highly of, one I knew, one I didn't know, would love to have known, passed away this past week. And so I'm going to have two guests today talking about two of these famous people. First of all, I've got Jeanne Beker, who's going to be speaking about Olivia Newton-John. And she wrote a post this week that was really quite heartfelt about her memory of meeting and working with Olivia Newton-John. And then second of all, Douglas Elliott is going to come on and speak about Bill Graham, the former leader of the Liberal Party, who also passed away this week. So let's start with Jeanne Beker. Jeanne, Olivia Newton-John, like I watched that movie Grease probably, if it wasn't a million times, it was probably 100 times with my daughter. Like she loved it, and she loved Olivia Newton-John, and she loved the image of Sandy. Tell us a little bit about your memories of Olivia Newton-John, if you could.
Well, of course, we first fell in love with Olivia Newton-John via that incredible movie Grease, just strutting alongside John Travolta, who was also a hero and an icon to so many of us. Olivia Newton-John was also such a gay icon. All the gay boys I knew grew up absolutely loving her. And then, going on to do films like Xanadu, which of course was so iconic as well. And she was just a sweetheart. And I say that because I had the chance to meet her personally on a few occasions, and she never—
Tell us about that if you could.
So the first time I met her, I went to LA to do a movie junket in around about 1982, I believe, for a show I was doing called Movie Television with Brian Linehan. And she had just done a movie called It Takes Two with John Travolta. And of course, they had reunited because they had done Grease together back in maybe it was around 1978. So this was a great reunion for them. They obviously just were nuts about each other. Very funny, very warm, very tender. It was just a joy to sit there with the two of them and watch their exchange, and the chemistry that existed between them was so memorable. And I just thought she was a doll. Well, fast forward, a few years later, I started doing fashion television in 1985, and Olivia Newton-John in the early 80s had started a clothing line and a store in LA. It actually was a chain of stores. It went on to become, it was had quite a high profile in Australia as well, called Koala Blue. So we went down with our fashion television crew to do a story on Koala Blue, which was on Melrose Avenue. And I remember it was just a gorgeous sunny day, and this was the coolest boutique because besides selling clothing and accessories and all things fashion, there was a bar in the middle of the store where they served up these healthy smoothies.
Oh, really?
And this is like in the mid 80s. This is what, now it seems like very de rigueur to do that. It's just all the rage. But this was almost, before that trend. Olivia was always quite a health nut. Of course, we saw that with her hit song, Physical, Let's Get Physical, that came on, a few years before. But we sat at that bar and just schmoozed like two girlfriends. It was wonderful. She was the warmest, kindest, most humble, down to earth, funny, upbeat. I can't say enough about her. Just the warmth that exuded from this incredible spirit. I mean, she was just a bright light, and obviously a bright light in so many people's lives, as we've seen from the outpouring that's happened since her sad death. So that was that was in mid 80s. I was just so taken with her. And then in 1992, she was first diagnosed with breast cancer. That was 30 years ago. So much has changed with breast cancer treatment, and the way we see the disease in the past 3 decades. But Olivia was very adamant about sharing her story with everyone. She came at us in a way that was enlightening because she seemed so fearless and really not ashamed and not afraid to share this journey with us. So women immediately, I think, thought even more highly of her. And then, of course, all the women who were living with breast cancer, who had gone through it and hopefully survived it, really saw her as a kind of sister, because there is this incredible sisterhood with breast cancer victims. I mean, I really, I hate that word victim. I don't think of myself as that, but I was recently diagnosed with breast cancer. So I have an extra appreciation now for what Olivia was sharing then. She overcame it, but sadly, again in 2013, Olivia was diagnosed once again with breast cancer. She overcame that. And in 2017, once again, she had breast cancer. So that was quite a struggle for her, I'm sure. Yet she always remained, open about it, and very fearless, and just so courageous. So what an incredible inspiration to us all. She was an amazing woman.
And incredible that you had those personal experiences to meet her and interact with her.
Yeah, absolutely. She really touched me as she touched so many people. A really heroic kind of woman.
I love your story of sitting at the bar in the middle of the clothing store and just chatting like long-term girlfriends.
Yeah, just she was that type of person. You just felt like immediately you could connect with her and have a great dialogue. She was so open and really so bright and so encouraging, so supportive. That kind of person who was just selfless, really. I just can't say enough about her. And of course, her music, her talent, that certainly will live on, constantly reminding us of the shining light that she was.
Well, and I don't know what it was about Grease, but it was a movie that for some reason just captured people's imagination. And there's something about the story. Maybe we'll chat about that a little bit more after the break. We're chatting tonight with Jeanne Beker. We're going to take a break for some messages and be back in just 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody. Welcome back, everyone, to the Brian Crombie Radio Hour on Saga 960. Our guest tonight is Jeanne Beker, who is a personality and a star in her own right. She is someone that we all grew up with, watching on Much Music, fashion television, so many different things, covers of magazines, and seemingly on our TV on a fairly regular basis. And we're chatting about Olivia Newton-John, Dame Olivia Newton-John. She was born September 26th in 1948. She was a British-Australian singer, actress, and activist. She was a 4-time Grammy Award winner whose music career included 5 #1 hits and another top 10 hits on the Billboard Hot 100 and 2 Billboard 200 #1 albums. If You Love Me, Let Me Know, and Have You Ever Been Mellow? 11 of her singles, including 2 platinum, and 14 of her albums, including 2 platinum and 4 2 times platinum, have been certified gold by the Recording Industry Association of America, with global sales of more than 100 million records. Olivia Newton-John is one of the best-selling music artists from the second half of the 20th century to the present. I started watching her probably like lots of you did in Greece. And Jeanne, there's something about, Sandy, sort of the girl next door, the nice girl, that to win the guy becomes the hot Sandy in the very tight leather or pleather or whatever they wear pants, the spandex pants. There's something about that speaks to, I think, a lot of people. And frankly, there's a lot of the John Travolta figure, the guy that's the tough guy, or tries to be the tough guy, but then for the right girl decides to straighten out and become the athlete and fall in love. Tell me, why do you think that movie resonated with so many people?
I think it was sexy, first of all, and a movie about coming of age, which everyone can relate to. I mean, obviously a very aspirational thing. Seeing someone, kind of lose a bit of their toughness, and seeing someone else, kind of rise up and really transform from the girl next door to some kind of sex symbol. I mean, who doesn't aspire to that? There was just such an incredible chemistry between those 2 stars as well. And those characters, Sandy and Danny, were just so brilliant. I mean, they were just true teen idols in that way. And of course, knowing the real people behind the characters, Olivia Newton-John, everyone just had so much respect for her talent, and John Travolta as well, incredibly talented. He gave us a Saturday Night Fever, and he was just everyone's a heartthrob, I think, certainly mine. So to see the two of them together, just beautiful people with an upbeat, optimistic love story. It was just a win-win situation.
I saw them on some late night show. I think it's been repeated on social media a lot, but when they recreated the scene about "You're the One That I Want," and they had the dance moves down perfectly. Who knows if they practiced it all over again, rehearsed it all over again, but it was amazing that they knew the words, which I think lots of us will remember words for famous songs for a long period of time, but that they could remember the dance moves for 20 years thereafter.
Yeah, well, they were great movers and shakers. They were both great dancers. I mean, just to watch that movie again, I'm gonna watch it again tonight. You've inspired me to go back and revisit that and really remember the magic of it. But it's one of those films that really does sustain, over the years. It doesn't really ever feel corny or maudlin. It's just cool. And so many of us fell in love with that movie and its iconic stars for sure. And that really was Olivia's, big introduction to us. And that's when we really all became aware of her. So she will live on in our hearts always as Sandy, and as well as being the incredibly courageous, fearless woman that she was.
She had a very sweet voice, and one that always made me think of Julie Andrews, sort of a similar story to Julie Andrews in Sound of Music, the femme fatale, the innocent girl that then finds her way through the course of the movie. It was another one that I loved watching with my daughter over and over and over again.
Yeah, I mean, I don't like to compare talents because everyone is so unique in their own way, and Julie Andrews is certainly so incredibly respected as a vocal artist. She was like, and is still like just beyond any even norm of a star. She's just an incredible talent. Olivia too was, Olivia was that kind of entertainer that, and actress that we fell in love with just because she oozed a kind of sweetness. I don't, I can't say that she was maybe one of the greatest vocalists ever. I mean, it was more about her, just her delivery maybe than, the technical proficiency that she had. But she was just a great pop star. And there was something about her sweetness that just really crossed over to you, that that went far beyond even the songs and the music. There was just something so beautiful about her. She really, and I really believe that some people just have this inner glow. People that are at a certain level, perhaps, of realization of spiritual evolution, and I think that was it for Olivia, and I think that's why she is so revered. That was another thing that she talked about. I'm bringing it back now away from talking about her as an entertainer, but really just as a humanitarian almost. She was very fearless. And that's something that, not a lot of people can say. She truly was, and spoke about that in several interviews. She wasn't afraid of dying. She wasn't afraid, of the dark beyond. I mean, she saw it almost as a kind of light, and, embraced the journey that she was on, where it would have sent most people, on a downward spiral, because it can't be easy living for 3 decades, and then the cancer returning, again and again, to be living like that. Yet she pushed through it all. She continued to perform. She continued to be relevant. She did some incredible work on developing a foundation and a cancer care center, and really exploring ways of natural healing, plant-based medicinals. She was very passionate about helping others, and really being open about her story, about being talked she didn't talk this much. And I think that's why a lot of us were shocked, because some people didn't realize that the cancer especially had returned this third time in 2017. And these last years for her must have been incredibly tough, because she lived with a lot of pain. Her husband helped in developing these, medicinal remedies for her, including cannabis. And that was something she was a great proponent of, promoting cannabis as a kind of healing therapeutic substance that certainly helped her deal with a lot of pain. But she was just such an open, warm person. She loved life so much that she was just determined to live it. And instead of burying her head in the sand or going into some, dark hole, she just kept out there. And she was just determined to grab onto every moment and not be afraid of getting older, as some people fear, I'm melting, I'm getting older, I'm disappearing. I mean, she really talked a lot about that, and how each day was an incredible blessing.
You quoted her on exactly that topic. If I could read it, you said this was a quote from an interview she did in the late 90s. This is her speaking. I used to fear getting older, dying. I've known women who want to pretend their 50th isn't happening. This experience has really changed me. Now I wake up and I'm so grateful for each and every morning. I'm thrilled to get older, and I'm no longer afraid.
Yeah. And that was something Jane Seymour was recently interviewed, and Jane Seymour was a very, very close friend of Olivia's. And that was something that she really brought up. She was, surprised, almost like in awe of Olivia, because she didn't really fear death. And despite the pain and the poor diagnosis that she was living with towards the end of her life, she just always managed to put through and just embrace each day that she could get up and appreciate life and be with her loved ones. And when you really, really, really love life and you get a cancer diagnosis, I think you love it even more, as though that were possible. And for those who are determined to remain courageous and fearless, there are a lot of silver linings in living with cancer, because you start to realize what's really important and how deep your love can run. Well,
you've met probably thousands of famous people, stars in music and fashion and in business and politics over your career. You've interviewed people, you've had them on your show or shows, and so that this one person, undoubtedly others as well, but that this one person impressed you so much, such that you wrote such a heartfelt tribute to her in your social media posts. It must mean that she had something special and she spoke to you. So I really appreciate it.
Yeah, without question, Brian. And also obviously in the light of what I'm living with now, because I'm on my own cancer journey, how much Olivia's words and actions resonate with me now. It's just profound. And there is, as I mentioned earlier in the interview, a kind of sisterhood with women who have gone through this breast cancer journey or are going through it, or maybe even will go through it. And those bonds of sisterhood are so pronounced at this point for me. She was a champion for so many of us, and truly a heroine and someone that we can all look up to and greatly be inspired by.
Well, I think all Canadians have looked up to you and enjoyed you over the years, and enjoyed all the music, all the fashion, all the personalities that you brought to our screen. So I really thank you for joining us today and sharing your recollections of Olivia Newton-John with us, because it made it a little bit more real, a little bit more personal. And on your current journey, obviously, Jeanne Beker, we wish you all the best, and please stay in touch and stay healthy.
Thank you so much, Brian. All the best to you as well. Lots of love.
Thank you. We're going to take a break and come back and talk about another individual who passed away this week, Bill Graham, just in 2 minutes. Stay with us, everybody.